see a rhyme. It's been fun.
Alright. Yeah, so we do have the Finland against Brazil match, which I believe is gonna be a close one. But for now, we're gonna get some warm-ups going and some banter, a few bans, and then some picks, hopefully, which isn't gonna be delayed too much. So, Daiki, how do you feel about this match? Do you think it's gonna be close or rather one-sided?
Well, I really hope it's going to be close. I feel like the teams can potentially match up very closely. However, I'm not the most familiar with standard play, so I think you're gonna have to pick up a little bit of slack for where I'm lacking in knowledge.
No problem, I got you back in that regard. But yeah, so in Finland side we do have one of the oldest players in Finland actually. Citron already talked about him, Delua, which surprised me actually that we played this year around. He suddenly just kind of vanished because of various reasons and then came back. And now he's strong, really strong in tournaments. But nonetheless, we do have Sansa, Hipri, and Kokuronosumi currently in for the Finland team. And Sansa, for example, is another really good player for Finland. But on the other side, we do have powerhouses like Mouse Easy, who you should definitely look forward to.
I actually commentated on the Brazil match, and Mouse Easy was definitely a force to be reckoned with in all of the maps.
Yeah, Mouse Easy has a lot of tournament experience and is really consistent, and I think he's one of the scariest players in Brazil, if not the scariest currently.
Yeah, definitely tournament experience is massive because the pressure can definitely get to you. In a game where combo matters a lot, any drops that you can avoid are massive in gameplay.
Indeed, but for that we at least have Scorby to at least give accuracy a bit of a leeway to give you some more points, despite you missing once in the middle of the song, which did kill your score and did kill your team's chances of actually winning. So Scorby in that regard at least helps getting it closer to something like Mania, where it's purely about skill and not really too much about combo, while combo is still a factor. It's still mostly about accuracy.
Yeah, definitely. There's the really big mitigation where no one can run away with a score with a massive combo. There's definitely more aspect of team play, which I really enjoy about Score V2. So it's less about one player carrying and more about all the whole team functioning as one full team.
Indeed, and we actually do see the first wall coming in, which is going to be, I believe, the Finnish pick, because this looks like just like another Finnish meme. Finnish people really do love their walls. And now I can just say, please enjoy whatever the Finnish team has prepared for you guys. Sometimes you just gotta let it sink in and accept whatever's coming towards you. I would love to bring some insight to the Finnish meme in question, but unfortunately I do not have any kind of insider to help me out. So for now, we were just gonna accept it. It's actually a rather long map. I'm a bit of a streamer champion, nothing too special about this except for the song itself. Might remind some people of some kind of remix. Have some Gachi-gasm remixes.
So I have a question about sight reading maps in standard. How hard is it to sight read? Like, is it usual that a player like practices a map a lot before they get comfortable with and full combos it? Or is it at like a high enough skill level you're able to just play a map and do, I guess, comparatively well on it and not have trouble with it based on your skill level?
I see what you mean. Definitely, that's a good question, and I'd say that in terms of sight reading, once you're on a high enough level and your reading is most important about sight reading, it shouldn't be too much of a difficult thing to do, really, except for some key maps. But with enough practice, you can pretty much sight read anything except some shoulder maps, which is probably the same case like with Taiko and with Mania. But in sometimes you really gotta practice that kind of way to be really good at sight reading. You've got to keep on doing. If you, for example, have a playstyle where you keep retrying maps to get a good score on, which some key players do, like for example, Captain Xan is a good example of that, who retries a map until he's able to get it on perfectly, and then just throws out a gigantic score. And that's just some way some players play, and they can't necessarily sight read as easily as others do. It's just the way you kind of play O's. That's how you hone your skills and be good at something and be worse at something else as a consequence. But sight reading is actually sometimes a tactic in terms of tournament map pools that you play perhaps only once or not at all if you think you know the map pretty well and it's decently, it's something right up your alley. You just don't play it, and then have this sight read moment in the tournament.
Yeah, that's definitely applicable to other play modes, I think. I was mainly asking because that being Finland's pick and Brazil winning it, I'm guessing that Finland would have maybe a little bit more practice with that map, maybe. Of course, that's just a base assumption that could be completely wrong. They might have just found a mean map, thrown it together, and been like, let's just play this and sight read it for the round of 16 against Brazil.
Yeah, indeed. But I completely understand. This is a really good question. But I'd say that just knowing the map isn't gonna help you against someone who's just better than you, pretty much. Unless the map itself is made to be that you cannot sight read it, like especially picked for the map pool to not be sight readed. Otherwise, if that's not the case, then I think everything should be manageable, or at least most in the map pool.
Definitely. And at least with the map pool, like you'd imagine that all these players are putting in tons of practice for an event as big as this.
Which, in my opinion, or at least in my experience with a lot of these teams, don't really do so. I mean, they definitely prepare a little bit, but there's like almost no strategy involved in picking except you think you're good at this, all right, then let's just pick it. Rather than thinking about pretty much every factor involved in picking a map, like are we better than the enemy team at this, and how good are the enemies at certain things and stuff like that. Mostly it's just picking something you think you're good at, and you just ask your team in one roundabout way, hey, you want to enter something in this Excel sheet, or are you good at this, and just improvise it.
I mean, some teams I would imagine have like a greater deal of organization and like, how would I put this, commitment and like intensity of practice than other teams. Like that's just going to vary overall, like the board, depending on what the team is. Like the USA MWC team, I know, trained their asses off just to do as well as they could in the tournament. So I'd imagine a lot of people are committing a lot of time to this. And I feel like the aspect of strategy doesn't really matter too much for maybe the hidden hard rock, double time, and no mod sections of the map pool. However, the free mod pool, like the aspect of trying to figure out your maximum score for score V2 based on the mods is pretty big. Like matching the other team's mods isn't as important, I think, as just figuring out what works the best for you. Because you can sometimes see people going maybe HDHR to try to max out their score, but them ending up far below like 800k, for example, when only HD or HR, they could have probably broken 1 million pretty easily by keeping their combo or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. That is a really big part of it, but in that case, I would have to argue that you almost never can be sure to see something because of the just incredible volatility or randomness, which sometimes can occur, which means, you typed a few too many words and you didn't take long enough to prepare your grip and stuff, and suddenly you can miss at the beginning and you're like, oh damn, well, I didn't expect this, I thought I was really good at this, and that's just kind of things which can happen.
Couldn't have said that better myself. The tournament setting is just so volatile, like you said, that yeah, anything can happen. We saw Brazil spin to win in group stage, or at least I was there to commentate that moment. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen in this match coming up after warm-ups are finished.
Indeed. This is the second warm-up for anyone just tuning in. So we're gonna have some of the overheads coming up pretty soon in terms of bans and picks. Well, this is the second warm-up by the Brazilian team. And currently, if you just look at the players, we definitely see a big advantage by the team of Brazil. Fenrir currently holding a full combo, just as Seka. Mouse Easy unfortunately missed, but does hold a decent score for his team too. But in general, that is a win for Brazil in the warm-up, which isn't really too much of a important piece because it's not a map in the map pool, and as long as the players don't know of the map and didn't practice it, it doesn't count. Unless you Bob Wolf, because he rarely plays map pools, but he sometimes really does. That's one thing I also noticed in terms of practicing for map pools, is that Wolf, for example, sometimes doesn't play specific maps just to have the side read in the map pool or in the tournament match itself, which sometimes is actually an advantage.
I mean, there's also the aspect of like if you play a map so much that you keep playing like one section incorrectly, then you can basically get mind blocked on the patterns and just continually mess that up over and over again. And that puts you at a really big disadvantage. So sometimes, like if you know the song, yeah, I'd imagine that you could just not play it at all so that you don't have those moments.
Indeed, that's something that's the risk of actually practicing a map so many times. You know where everything is, and you start to rely less on your senses, like reacting to the beat map and reading it on the go, but rather relying on your memory. Which, if your memory is not perfect, you're gonna mess up, and that's the risk of practicing maps quite a lot. You definitely do want to practice maps, but not too much.
I guess, yeah, like you said, to the point of comfort.
Indeed. I'm not too sure about how it's on other modes, and but I can imagine it can work the same.
I think with Mania, there's a lot of physicality involved, as in harder maps are purely like, are you able to physically do these patterns? However, for easier maps not maybe easier maps, but maps like right around the player's skill level, there's definitely the aspect of, oh, I just literally cannot do these patterns anymore because I've continually played them wrong and I cannot read it anymore. So it does exist, I believe, in other modes outside of standard.
Indeed. So getting back to the map for a second, or the
Hidden
match,
ban.
we do see Mir for Brazil as a ban, which is a hard map. CS6, really rhythmically hard map, really hard to accuracy properly. NSC because CS6, a ban for Brazil, and then we do see, as you said, the hidden map, point set here, Approach 8, the go-to ban for hidden, because Approach 8 is something you're not used to nowadays, and sometimes you just want to ban it out.
Definitely taking into account the comfort of the entire team.
So now, as we got just the overhead of the match away with the bans and picks, no, just the bans, we're gonna get the pick pretty soon. We do have the new rule of the timer, of giving you a bit of time, but having a countdown, so we don't waste too much time at all. But in the meantime, it is going to be interesting what the first pick is gonna be, because it always sets the tone. It always sets the tempo of the entire match. You can actually pick something risky at the beginning if you think might not work out, and that kind of way you can get some information out of the match. Because if you pick something risky when it's 0-0, okay, you just gave a point away, but you know better at least, as compared to 1 point before the tiebreaker picking something risky where you don't have any other options left.
So our first pick coming in for Finland is Kokuronosumi. This is a double time pick, I believe. Yes, it is. I guess this is kind of interesting because, at least from what I've heard, Brazil is kind of speedy of a team. So it's interesting that Finland might pick this, although I don't know.
I'd say it's completely tied. We do have some speedier players in Finland, like Sansa or Hipri, but I'd say most of these players should be able to stream it, no problem really. So there's a fun fact, there's a 100% pick rate for this Kokoro GT pick. It's 218 BPM, and that's the important part, or rather that's the only reason to really pick it, because it's quite standard. It's not too difficult to read or aim, nothing too special. It's more about the 280 BPM streams than just having the raw ability to play that.
It looks like both teams are actually subbing people out. Hipri, or how would you pronounce that name? Hipiri, I believe. And Fabricurbi. My pronunciation. Anyways, looks like they'll be subbing in for Finland and Brazil respectively for Kokuronosumi.
Indeed. Thank God we at least don't have Australia to pronounce here, because they've got two of the hardest people I've ever seen to pronounce or try to pronounce in my tournament commentating history.
Oh, and actually Hipiri is having problems actually getting the map. Which means that will be a sight read, I guess, if they don't have the map pulled previously.
Yeah, there might be so many different causes for a map to not be there. For example, sometimes you have someone like Wapupul who just deletes his map all the time. So you think he doesn't have the map, but he actually did play it previously. Stuff like that can kind of work.
Yeah, all these problems can occur. However, Sonoda Umi is coming in for the name that I still probably can't pronounce.
Well, yeah, Sansa and Zulu are gonna be people I'd look out for in this pick. I don't know too much about Sonoda Umi and Maffe. Those are rather new people to the Finnish roster, as I've seen. But on the Brazilian roster, we do see Mouse Easy and Fabric Corby, which are two really good players. Seka has also shown a lot of promise in tournaments.
But with that, we will be heading into Kokuronosumi, the first match of Brazil versus Finland for everyone that has just come in. And actually, coming out of the gates, we have a drop from Sanze on Finland's side at the very beginning.
Yeah, early breaks aren't too important unless all of the players FC, which I don't think will really happen. It only happens in rare cases. And
that is a little bit of... I'm sorry.
No problem. It's okay. You can go ahead.
I was gonna say that's a little bit of a boulder in the path because that just mitigates your max score in the very end. And we've had actually 3 players from Finland being having breaks early. Mertrax being the only person on Brazil to break their combos so far. And actually Fabricuro be holding the double S at this point, going into about like 1/3 of the song over.
Yeah, who knows? You might see the first double S of the entire round of 16 matches so far on this map, at least.
Gotta knock on wood for that, though.
Yeah, we got close with Mayim Stux, a really good accuracy player, and then we had Masti with a 1/100. Who knows?
Mertrax dropped another in Brazil. However, this is the halfway point, so I'd imagine that actually would probably hurt your score a little bit more because your combo isn't as... or is basically capped out at half now.
Indeed, and the higher your combo is, the more points you get from the combo aspect, which is really important. That's also why the early misses hurts a little bit in terms of the combo aspect, but in the grand scheme of things, if all of the players kind of miss around, it's, as you said, it's not just going to be a boulder in the path, but not really too detrimental.
Yeah, but looking at like actually the physical scores, Zekar Mausis and Fabric Fiorbia have almost double the score that Mertrax is. Mertrax and Dilewa drop. And all of Finland is full of 3 players on Brazil, so that's not a very good look for Finland unless Brazil have some massive drops. And it looks like the double S is broken by Fabric.
Indeed, unfortunately, but it's looking really good for Brazil, and I think this is going to be the first point for Brazil.
3 people have already breaking the 1 million point for Brazil, and it looks like they're just going to take this very easily.
A really great performance by Brazil on the first pick of the Finnish team, I believe. That was the pick of Finland.
Yep, that will be a first point and a break point. And like you said before the match, like this is the match, or this is the one song that will decide kind of the tone of the match. So now Finland is really on the back foot, being the next pick, Brazil's pick.
Indeed, and Brazil hopefully have prepared something really well, because the Brazilian team um, is incredibly consistent from what I've seen in community tournaments all around. Like I've seen Mouse Easy play so many times, as well as Fabri, Kiobi, and those two guys just hammer away at some of the maps, and they're really scary players. It's almost a wicked duo of like Atrig and Rocker, just not at the same level, but kind of the same way it kind of works for Taiwan. It works similarly to Brazil. But second, let's not forget people like Seke, who also have seen the map. It's always important. The team does not exist and is made out of two people. It's always important that all four perform pretty well on it.
Definitely. And like I mentioned earlier, it's Score V2, which is allowing this team play aspect to come in a lot more strongly than previous years.
Indeed, because once again, mentioning Score V2 in this one is the case for that. You don't really have these single man carries on really long maps, and it's always important. Even if you miss, you just gotta keep on trying your best. That's a good incentive in my opinion, at least.
Definitely. However, looking back at the match that just happened, Finland had 3 people drop at the very beginning. However, they did hold their combo throughout basically the rest of the map. So I imagine that there might be a little bit of aspect of nerves, or just in the general tournament setting, that may be getting to them. However, I think they might be recovering, and we'll be able to see it as we get into the next pick, Extreme Fantasy from Brazil.
Oh, that's an interesting pick. I'm sure if Mouse East is going to perform wonderfully on it. Also, Fabri Kokuronosumi should also be able to do this pretty decently, unless he gets swapped out. I don't know about the rest of the Brazilian roster, because there are a few new faces. But the Lugo, for example, is one you should look out for Finland, and Hipri, I believe, is also not too shabby on Populate.
We'll also see Multari come in on the Finland side.
Oh, nice. Multari, definitely gonna have to prove himself. But Finland and both these teams should definitely know their own strengths and weaknesses. I mean, they definitely have to at least communicate. So that's kind of a given. So they should know which kind of setup of players is gonna be the best for the team. And we're gonna believe in that and see how well and how close it's gonna be.
Definitely.
Well, yeah, the Extreme Fantasy map 152 BPM, really slow streams, approach at 8, CS5, so CS5 is a little bit smaller
small
circle
side,
size than the bigger circle size of 4, which is standard in most maps. But the important part is the death streams of 152 BPM not losing your accuracy, and then these rather awkward styles which are longer than they should be, plus the ending with these changing stream spacing from, changing stream speed from 152 BPM to 140.
We have our first drop, Sanze on Finland side, and looking at all the scores previously, Sanze and Fenrir were actually matching up very closely in accuracy. Mouse Easy actually dropping from Brazil. That's massive, being that Mouse Easy is actually the highest accuracy player remaining on the Brazil side. However, he does have a miss. But Lewell's actually, never mind. That was just fine. Multari actually being the next to make a drop. Actually suffering a lot on the accuracy of these streams. Dropping below the 87. Actually hovering around an 85.
Yeah, the Liu actually had a really good accuracy run, but then he slightly missed-aimed, which pretty much killed his accuracy.
And now the last remaining full combo is Fabri Kior.
Next to Dilu, definitely, this is a one for combo, that's one for combo match, but Mouse Easy's accuracy is just going ham currently.
Wow, still remaining above the 99.5.
But this is the hardest part pretty much of the map, which has these streams changing speed. And Mouse Easy is still holding a 99% accuracy. Fabric Corby unfortunately did miss, but we do have Fenrir coming from behind and adding little bit of a combo backer. Because
However,
the
Mouse
Lua
Easy does
is
drop.
currently still holding.
The Lua and Sanze are also building up combo. Zeker makes a drop, Sanze drops their combo as well. Fenrir drops, oh, the Lua drops, everyone is dropped. And I think that does kind of cut Finland's comeback dream in half and allows Brazil to take the second point over Finland. However, that was on their own pick, so Finland does have a chance to kind of dig deep and imagine what, or at least attempt to make a really good pick coming into this next match or next song.
Indeed, with a 99.04% accuracy by Mouse Easy, gotta hand it to him. That's really, really good.
On a map as, I guess, strange as that, with streams changing speeds and all
Indeed.
that.
Also, the sliders are really awkward because when you actually play this map in single player on score v1, you cannot cheat a little bit on these sliders by actually getting too late to the next slider. You don't really get a 100 because of it, because
because slider accuracy
window isn't the same. Indeed, pretty much every slider should be a free 300, which is completely free unless completely botch it up in terms of slider points if you just miss a few parts of the slider. But you can miss time sliders and it's okay, you get a 300. But on score v2, those are really important. And getting good accuracy on those really awkward sliders, you can't really cheat or use a little bit of a trick and abuse the system as you do in single player.
Definitely. And it looks like Finland's choice for the comeback is Wiz-domot.
Another streamy map, even though they did lose the 218 BPM double time streamish map. Will be interesting. I mean, Finland is still believing their ability in streams and not really in jumps part. I mean, Finland does have the raw skill to see this and to make this a 4-way seed, but just having the possibility to and actually doing it are two different things.
Looks like the Lua complaining about not being good in tournament play.
I mean, I can imagine that not everyone is as good as in tournaments as he is in single player.
Definitely. I know it definitely depends from player to player, where some players just excel at the tournament setting under pressure and destroy all of their best scores somehow in that, and other people choke very hard under the pressure. But now it's break or be broken.
Indeed, and this map is gonna start off the 200 BPM stream map. The beginning should be quite straightforward, maybe a few silly misses here and there, but as long as you can stream 200 BPM and you're aware of your cursor, unlike the Lua currently, you should be okay in the beginning. But the ending does have some awkward 1/8 repeat sliders, which can definitely screw you over if you're not paying attention.
And only 2 players dropping in that one section, both the M's, Mafe and Mertrax. Mertrax actually taking another drop to the Brazil side, although even with more drops, Brazil is keeping the lead, mostly because I think the accuracy of the remaining 3 players. However, that's not to say Finland's current top 3 scorers, Sanze, the Lua, and Hipri, are holding bad scores. They're actually all above 98, which is amazing at this point.
Yeah, but it's 2 FCs against 3, and 2 of the 3 FCs have a 99% accuracy, which is gonna make a big difference.
However, we are coming into the meat, I guess, of Wiz-domot here.
Indeed, and the repeat sliders are gonna start. Only 1 break by Mertrax currently. Alright, not too many players tripped up on the part, and Brazil is still holding strong.
Actually, Finland takes the lead in this section. It's probably because of their 4
Maffe.
much higher.
I didn't notice Maffe's combo actually coming back here with the 700 combo and clocking in.
Yeah, he's been really digging deep. Hipri does make that break there, which is really big considering that both of the teams are so close at this point. However, it looks like Murtrax and Zeker are kind of pulling Brazil down with the scores that low. However, Hipri does break. This is really close. 40k points at this very end.
This is 2 FCs. Oh, and
but
it's
that
not
will
gonna
be Finland's win on their own pick, which is great. Having another break there would have been very devastating towards their prospects of winning this match. So that makes this 1-2 in favor of Brazil. Brazil's pick upcoming.
I think it's actually Finland's win by 15k currently. So it's a 1-2 for Finland.
Or I'm not sure if I misspoke. Yes, it is 1-2
okay.
in favor of Brazil because Finland won that match.
Yeah, I completely have misunderstood you then. All right, I'm sorry, my fault.
That's fine.
But there was a huge accuracy drop by Murtrax on the last stream. He had combo, which was pretty good, but actually not getting 300s is going to kill your score a little bit. You're gonna lose score actually if you miss or if you get 100s and 50s. And I think that might have made a little bit of a difference in the previous map. But the question is, what is gonna be the next pick from Brazil? It was a really close match, but the Approach at 8 Extreme Fantasy map was a rather one-sided map for Brazil. So it's gonna be about what else has Brazil prepared. They might know their strengths a little bit better than Finland because their picks are granting way more point differences than Finland's.
Definitely. However, Brazil hasn't made too many picks, and there's still the rest of the map to explore. We've only seen the no mod and double time out of this. We've seen no free mod, hard rock, or hidden picks yet in this match, although I'm very sure that they're going to be incoming soon.
Indeed. But Brazil currently has quite a few avenues to attack. They can definitely pick any no mod, or they might even go for another Approach at 8 free mod pick, which is going to be the Nightmare map. But they definitely have a bunch of avenues open. Since they banned hard rock, I'm not sure if they're going for hard rock. The safest pick would be no mod for now, because they definitely showed a lot of prowess on that compared to Finland. But it is going to be hidden Avalon.
I was gonna say, Brazil doesn't need to take too many risks at this point because they are up and it's their pick. Like, establishing a greater lead at this point would probably be much more conducive to, I guess, less nerves and just a better performance aspect of their tournament match.
Indeed. But Avalon is gonna be the pick, which is the hidden pick, the second hidden pick. Also a rather chaotic map in the beginning with the spacing of the jumps, and then at the end turns into a rather streaming map. Definitely not a map I would recommend side reading. Some places might catch you off guard, but as this is Brazil's pick, I'm sure we still have prepared plenty for this one.
And they're potentially considering the combo breaks as well. As you said, if the back half is fairly streamy in this song, seeing as they've been excelling more often than not at streams, I would think that if they would break anywhere in the song, it's best to break early and continue on than to be breaking in the middle or at the end, I guess.
Yeah, I can see. Because there are streams at the end, there might be more circles dense in the ending part rather than the beginning part. So if you miss in the beginning, it might look like a more of a difference because you missed in the first quarter of the map. But the most of the circles should be at the ending of the map because it's a streams. Just condensed a lot more nodes into a time window than at the beginning with the jumps.
Yeah, that is a great point. The note density would probably definitely factor into how much breaks matter at which points in the song.
Indeed. And there's a calm section in the middle, so that also gives even more power to the density at the end. But nonetheless, 200 BPM streams, not to forget, which is the same BPM as Finland's first win.
We actually have multiple drops coming in from Finland. Sanjay is having quite a bit of trouble with these jumps, maybe just breaking or missing out on accuracy on a couple of them before kind of resetting. But oh wow, Sonoda actually almost fails out with just a string of missed jumps. That's not good for Finland at all right now.
And the beginning jumps...
Sonoda fails!
Oh. The beginning jumps are quite evil and chaotic from time to time.
I believe Zeker also failed.
But at least he still holds decent
recovering. Yeah.
Well, I wanna shout out Hipri currently, 99.7% accuracy. It's gonna be tough holding this accuracy in the ending part because the streams, but you know, you can always stream. And Finland will definitely need that accuracy.
LOL is on screen.
And that's a rather weird repeat slider because it's after a short break, which is gonna screw up your timing just a little bit. I think that pretty much is the nail in the coffin because Brazil is just so ahead. Fenrir, Fabric, Kirby, and Mouse Easy, holding phenomenal accuracies and combos currently.
Yeah, they're taking a vice grip on this lead and just running away with it. Fenrir does drop, however. Fabric, Kirby, and Mouse Easy are still holding disgusting accuracy with disgusting combos at this point.
Yeah, really great performance by the Brazilian team currently. Finland is lacking on this a little bit.
Just a little bit. However, you do kind of expect that given that it is Brazil's pick. And that Finland actually banned out the other hidden map.
Indeed. So hidden, great weakness they striked on. But that's gonna be the last of the hidden maps. Now it's all about finding other things to actually combat your enemies with, which is going to be interesting for Brazil to find. Hidden definitely worked out, but the other hidden is banned. Maybe something according to free mods might be interesting, as you might force your opponents to perhaps pick something they might not want. Like some maps are easy on hard rock than on hidden and vice versa. So if you pick the map which is easy on hidden and abuse hidden on your team, that might give you a little bit of an edge over the enemy team.
Also, shoutouts to the Lewa and Hipri on Finland's side for both also staying above 99 despite breaking combo a couple times. Holding on against Brazil still.
Those would be really great FCs in general, just performances if they had FCs. Well, yeah, it's quite close from time to time, but when Brazil is picking something they prepared, it definitely shows the difference in skill on those certain aspects.
So now we'll go into Finland's return pick, Remember History.
Oh, okay. A really interesting map, 210 BPM, but the important part is that it's an old style map. 210 BPM kind of inspired by maps like Digipop, or Digipop the mapper himself, having these linear sequences of circles, but then you have a twist of just having insane spacing or spikes in a song, where the spikes are something you need to look out for really well. If you can't find the spikes, then that's really hard. But you pretty much have either a really calm section or a really easy section and then an insane spike, and then just alternating between those two things. And that on 220 PM.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster at that point. Or might I say discraster?
Translating the note, Craster is the artist of the song. Well, yeah, actually, coming in some facts from that beats from a hidden chat. Last time we saw this, Rock got a double S, which is a phenomenal performance. Well, this is the kind of map where you can expect a 99% accuracy. Most likely because it's not too hard to wreck. The rhythm is extremely easy to hold. But the important part is the combo itself. Like keeping combo on these jumps is gonna be the test.
Definitely. It looks like someone's swapping out. Oh. Did Fabric Yorbi get silenced?
I mean, maybe he healed too hard. That might be possible, but I've actually been silenced for some of the darndest reasons, really. Like, sometimes if you lag out and you write a bunch of messages and you lag out, and then suddenly you connect back, all your messages get sent at the same time, and then Bancho might see you spamming because he sent like 20 messages in like 1 second and silences you. That actually happened to me in a tournament, which was really funny. I had to wait a little while for that one. Well, yeah, just, you know, standard technicalities. The world of computers is not perfect, and you always have to prepare for the unknown.
I think we could just blame Juan for this and be done with that.
Exactly. Maybe a few more blame Peppies
Twitch
also.
hashtag blame Juan.
Well, we can blame Juan for many things, like cursing all the players.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see him in finals to get some intense cursing abilities incoming.
Indeed, but for now, we hopefully get the silence aspect away from Patrick Corby and have the match on its way. I mean, if anything else, this might be a rather creative way to postpone the match. Running away from the 3-minute timer every team has when picking it up.
I mean, at the same time, sometimes there are intense debates on what to pick next. Because it's like, we want to win. Like, the teams want to win. So.
Indeed. And you mostly want to give the teams the benefit of the doubt, but after playing in some of these teams yourself, pretty much notice it's mostly about a player responds, but what do you want to play? And most of the players just respond with whatever. Like, it's really hard to get a pick going if you have someone like Wolf in your team. He just says whatever and you cannot really decide on what to pick, because that just gave you zero information about what you might want to pick. And I would love to give these teams the benefit of the doubt, but my own experience just brings me a smile when I think of what might go down, just, you know, in the VIP spots of the teams.
Yep. Looks like Zekker's lagging out on the Brazil side. First Bancho muting Fabric Yorbi, and now Zekker having trouble connecting to Bancho. Some sort of conspiracy against Brazil.
Daiki, as a non-standard player really, how do you feel the O's World Cup and the Standard World Cup compares to the other ones in terms of closeness and how high things are?
I guess at least looking at stats, I'm guessing from previous World Cups to this World Cup, even like the previous Mania World Cup to the previous World Cup that just happened, there were so much less sweeps, there was so much variability. I think that's not even just because of Score V2, but I also think the map pool is starting to diversify quite a lot. Like, people are recognizing that the more diverse picks you have, the more teams have tools to utilize to better guarantee or to, I guess, better vary the wins on teams. In general, like, the higher skill team will eventually come out on top. However, there is that volatility involved, and I'm pretty hyped. This current World Cup seems to be really, really entertaining to watch.
Alright, so at least the old standard World Cup is holding up to some of the other World Cups in terms of closeness and hype. But yeah, I see what you mean. I can imagine that someone in a mini World Cup, for example, can completely stomp the enemy team on easier maps because you just have the accuracy aspect and you just gotta focus and stay on your mind and just play as you usually play. And that's gonna give you a huge advantage compared to worse players.
Also, breaks are a little bit less detrimental to your score, and rather overall accuracy is, in general, a lot more important in the Mania score. It's, I guess, based on the game's meta and scoring and the mapping and all of that.
Indeed. Alright, so that was a good insight coming from Daiki, but now let's get back into the match and see it's starting. This is by Finland, but we have plenty of spikes in jumps, so enough places to actually miss on for all of these players.
However, there's only one full combo remaining for Finland, although this is early. Zeker makes the next break from Brazil.
Yeah, Zeker is gonna want to keep this a little bit close, so you guys are at the top of your seats, staying as high as you are. You know, you don't want to make it too one-sided, and Zeker is that guy. Thank you, Zeker. I appreciate your effort.
However, we have Mouse Easy over here, who, by the way, has not dropped under a 99% yet. In this round of 16, has gotten over 99% on every single one of the picks so far.
Yeah, he's one scary player to look out for. He's extremely consistent next to his accuracy consistency in the entire interesting tournaments in general. So even if you outperform in a combo and he misses, he still has accuracy to give his team quite a substantial score addition to his total team score.
This is now a very scary look because they're competing against 3 FCs and 1 very high combo, and they have 3 fairly low combos and 1, I guess, high combo as well in Hipri. Like, looking at the scores, Mouse Easy and Fabric Yorbi have just broken the 600k mark, and on the Finland side you have Sonoro Umu, who is struggling to even, or just got past the 300,000 mark. Like, this is not a good look for Finland, especially this being their own pick and this song almost coming to a close.
Yeah, maybe the prolonged break might have screwed some people over. That's one factor in tournaments you underestimate, is in single player, you just keep on playing maps after maps and you rarely have any downtime unless you can't find any maps. But in tournament play, you sometimes have really big downtimes which can be detrimental to the wall of the players and then suddenly perform way worse than they expect to.
That is definitely a thing that can happen.
Which is also why it's so important to have the shortest times between picks as possible.
Over 1,400,000 points of difference. And Brazil destroys Finland's pick, and this is almost Finland being dug into their grave. It's just Brazil's final pick. Finland needs to break 2 Brazil picks and win one of their own picks if they want to have the hope of getting to a tiebreaker at this point. Mouse Easy with a 99.83.
Yeah, absolutely insane accuracy by Mouse Easy. Just gotta repeat that one again. 99.83% accuracy to 100. You just gotta think about it. Mouse Easy has been a boss the entire match currently, and I don't think he's gonna. It's just a one-time performance by him. He's definitely gonna show up in the future, and it seems like the future is gonna be in the winners bracket for now.
That's what it definitely seems like. However, anything can happen, and there's never ever letting down the hope that some drastic things happen. Brazil, in their group stage, actually came back kind of in the very last minute on one of the maps, and nothing actually came out of that. So,
Unfortunately. But I do remember, I think Brazil won against Hong Kong, which also was a really good team. I might even go as so far as to say that Hong Kong is a stronger team than Finland, from what I know about the players. And it just shows Brazil is having a rather easier time in this match currently, but who knows? I mean, Finland is not out of this yet. They might have had some hiccups at the beginning, which definitely looked bad, but who knows? Maybe they can scrap together the motivation for one last point and then perhaps snowball that one in a reverse sweep or tiebreaker, following the reverse sweep. Oh, but it's gonna be Silverly, Kamisama, Nejimaki, Catastrophe difficulty, which is going to be a 284 BPM map, which is rather high actually, but the way it's mapped doesn't really showcase too much of 284 BPM mapping. There are almost no streams or bursts. I think there's one double, which is 1/4, which is gonna be like a 1/4 double really. Otherwise, it's mapped in 1/2 time signature, which means that the entire map is, you can almost look at it as a 142 BPM map on streams, pretty much. And it's as consistently difficult as possible from the beginning to end. A few really short, slow parts, but other than that, it's all about consistency. No spikes here, unlike the last pick.
And at least looking at... Oh wow, actually Mouse Easy subbing out on Brazil's side.
I think Mouse Easy should be pretty decent on this map, but for now I can't really remember how good he is on alternating. So either it might just be a good pick because Mir Trucks, for example, is specifically really good at alternating, or it's gonna be just allowing people to play because they do have a lead, so they can mess around a little bit to give some key players who rarely play and only play in specific cases more showtime and get them used to the tournament setting.
That could be definitely useful, as once we get into semifinals and finals, the map pool becomes very expansive, and you need to win essentially nearly the whole entire map pool, or at least go through the majority of the map pool. And you're going to need all of the players on your team, especially if people have weaknesses, strengths in different areas.
Or perhaps it's just Mouse Easy not wanting to break his 99% accuracy streak.
Worried about his legacy.
Yeah, he's gonna be that guy who got 99% accuracy on every single map, and doesn't want to be that guy who got 99% on every one except for the last map. So that's giving it to Brazil. Finland is definitely still in this one, and the match just started.
Yeah, everyone is still in this. Finland is really trying to bring this back. And I mean, they kind of have to, or else they lose this entire match. However, Brazil is definitely not letting go at all.
Indeed, but Mouse Easy isn't gonna be the only key player in the Brazilian team, because if you look at the rest of the team, Fabri, Corby, Henry and Sega, all have been performing wonderfully in the last maps, and you can't just win with 1 million points alone if you get a really good accuracy. It's all about the team that's also seeing with you to kind of have the gigantic amount of score you can really get.
I feel like it's comparable to something like the Tour de France or any other bike race where, yes, the first person who crosses the finish line matters, however, like the whole team needs to also cross at the same time. Although I'm not actually sure if that's how the Tour de France works. I might be completely wrong about that, but...
Well, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. So I'm gonna say, yes, I like that analogy.
The Lua being the only drop so far, everyone else holding full combo here.
Yeah, Hipri actually now with the 99% accuracy. He's right behind Fabri Corby currently.
However, that's not to say Sanze is holding on right behind Hipri on the Finland side. But Multari drops, and I think potentially this is it. I think the max combo has come and gone at this point.
Indeed, and the 4-way FC. This is the solo part, which is just a little bit of a spike, because you have streams in them, which are around 210 BPM to 200 BPM. But they're so short, and it really happens only 2 times. It's not too much of a big difference, unless you do not expect those kind of things to be in this map. but I believe all of these players have played this map at least once, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So, and that shows they all still are keeping NFC in the Brazilian side. Finland definitely had a really good run in the group stages and showed that they're really good, but once it gets to a little bit of a higher level of maps, they seem to crumble just a little bit more. But nothing, not to add, not to subtract anything from that. Brazil is performing extremely well, and it'd be interesting to see how they will perform in the future.
Yeah, however, Finland is not out of this. They're still into the losers bracket, where they still have a chance in the next and upcoming weeks. I believe, did someone quit out? Did Sen or Sanze
Yeah, I think he
quit
might
out or
have
fail?
quit right after just finishing the map, which might give you this kind of screen.
Yeah, and there is a 4-person full combo on the Brazil side, and I don't think Finland actually had a chance. Like, maybe coming into half or a little bit after half of that map, I think all their hopes kind of died, given the consistency and outstanding play of the Brazil side.
Yeah, I mean,
However, that's not to discount Finland's play. Like, they're still in the round of 16. Like, they did make it out of group stages against over half, or
yeah, but
half of the team.
you gotta give it to Brazil. That performance could mess or just kind of compete with any top team which played so far. I mean, that's just extremely well played by Brazil. You gotta say that too. Finland looked a little bit shakier than in the group stages, but Brazil just played out of their minds.
Definitely. And it looked like Brazil was saving that pick because, I mean, landing 4 full combos is pretty impeccable on a pick in the World Cup, especially coming into the round of 16 and also further once we get to round of 8, semifinals, etc.
Yeah, Brazil is one of the dark horses, I believe, in the tournament. They might not be as big or as known as the top 4 biggest teams in the tournament, which can take it, but they can definitely throw someone out, a top 4 team, if they have the right time and the right performances, and they do have the possibility to do so.
Definitely.
But yeah, that is the